higher than Grog.
That's not what I have a monkey.
Thank God I'm an old. Wait, top or bottom? Is it top or bottom?
Jim today.
You got 6 feet, Ron?
Bishop Binner?
Yeah.
I didn't turn in my that essay thing. The essay thing, where you had to rewrite the story. Yeah, and we had to like email it to whatever. Send it to No, yeah, because I didn't know how. See, I have mine printed out. Can I just like turn it into your Dropbox?
Wait, what essay?
Yeah, I think that's what you were supposed to do.
Oh, I have mine printed. Email it to you.
I think, okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll cover it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. As some of you already know, because you've already had me earlier today, I did not, as was wildly reported, have pneumonia. I did not have pneumonia. I thought. Don't ruin the story.
Hey, spoiler.
Don't. I did not have pneumonia. I thought I might have pneumonia because my wife had pneumonia and she was very sick, and we shared some of the similar feelings. But I did not. I didn't end up with pneumonia. I went to the doctor to get checked out, and they ran a couple tests. They made me blow in this machine, and it was really weird. It had like a picture of a firefighter. And he had a hose, and there was a fire, and you put the thing up, and they're like, take a deep breath and blow as hard as you can. And so I'm like, and they're like, try and put out the fire, and like my water went, ugh. It didn't even come close. It was like bad. And they're like, so okay, we're gonna give you this like breathing treatment, and that'll help you, and then we're gonna try it again, and then we'll do some other tests. So they gave me the breathing treatment. I did it again. I still couldn't put out the fire. They did a swab. To find out whether or not if they had the flu. And if you've ever had a flu swab, they take a real long stick and they shove it up your nose and they swirl it around and they pull it out, right? And the lady who did it, she's like, I'm gonna have to swab. She's like, before she did it, she's like, do you have one nostril that's, let's say, gooier than the other? And I'm like, yeah, the right one, and you might want to bring in a wheelbarrow to pull out all the stuff you're drinking out of it because it's horrible. I was really sick.
Dude, that's good to know.
So she did it, and she's like, all right, we'll run the test. We're gonna send you to get a chest X-ray. When you're done with your chest X-ray, just go back and sit in the waiting area, and we'll come and get you in a few minutes whenever your test is done. Okay. So I went over and I got my chest X-ray, that was what I was really worried about because my wife had pneumonia, and you get pneumonia and you don't get over it for like anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. It stays with you for a really long time, and it can be really debilitating, especially if you've never had it before, which I've never had it. So I was really worried that I had pneumonia. So they did that chest X-ray, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, I'm not even thinking about the flu because I almost never get the flu. I don't get flu shots. I don't do that. I'm a very healthy person. I just don't get it. And they come back. So they send me back to the waiting room. I'm sitting in the waiting room I go up to the desk and I'm like, hey, I'm back. And they're like, okay, just have a seat. And I swear I'm sitting down for maybe 45 seconds before one of the nurses comes out and is like, Mr. Bittner! I'm like, yes. Like, we need to come back with us.
They called you Mr. Bittner.
Yeah, well, no. Yes, they did. Well, not
Benjamin.
Benjamin. But yes, I was like, yes. And they're like, we need you to come with us right now. Oh, okay. I'm like, I'm moving as quickly as I could at that point in time, which is not very quick. And I'm walking, and I'm noticing that before, when I went back, the nurse stayed right next to me and was talking to me and being very nice and asking if I had kids or what I was doing for the holidays. All this wonderful stuff, right? This time she's taking me back, and I'm here, and Jalen's leading me, right? She's the nurse, way up there, and walking as quick as she can. She's running away from me. She opens the door and steps back. She's like, "This is your room." I'm like, "This okay?" Yeah. So I go in, and she shuts the door, and then she steps right back against the door, so she's still as far away from me as possible. And she's like, "I had to bring you out of that room because you, because we just got your test results back. And I'm like, what, do I have leprosy? Like, is my arm gonna fall off? What do I have? This is horrible. I was like, I can't, like, if I'm gonna lose something, at least lose a foot, because then I can still play Xbox. I can't lose an arm. Can't play Call of Duty one-handed. I've tried. It's hard. So I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she's like, well, we got your flu results back. She's like, we tested you for flu A and flu B. Now, most people, when they get the flu, get A or B. You got A and B. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, that's great. She's like, yeah, you're like unbelievably contagious. She's like, you can't be around your children for like a week. You shouldn't go out, so you shouldn't leave your house at all for at least 7 to 10 days. I was like, this is okay, cool. So I went home, I called my wife, I called my mother-in-law who babysits my kids. I was like, okay, this is what's going on. I can't be around the babies. And they're like, okay. So I literally walked into my townhome, and like, you walk in the garage, you open the garage, you walk in the garage, there's a little basement room right there. And then, you go up the stairs to the rest of the house. I walked in the door, I walked into the basement room, I shut the door, and I basically didn't leave that room for about 2 days. Maybe 3. I did, I watched a ton of them. I got all caught up on Sons of Anarchy. It's awesome. I'm fully caught up on Well, I got fully caught up on the last 2 seasons of Sons of Anarchy in a day and a half. It was fantastic. But really all I did was I watched TV and I slept. I had so little energy, I didn't even get a chance. Like, I didn't have the energy to play Xbox. So I didn't even play. I just watched movies. Yeah, I ate some chicken noodle soup every once in a while. I slept here and there. But I basically just hung out. I tell you all of that to let you know that it took me a long time. It took me a long time to really get feeling better. And because of that, I missed the last 3 days here with you guys. So I know that there are some questions about things to do, how to turn in the writing assignment that I gave you. There were some other assignments I had the substitute give you at the very end. What to do with those, what to do with the web quest, all that fun stuff. I know there are those questions out there. So I told you all that to tell you that I'm sorry I couldn't be here. I really, really wanted to. And I wanted to be able to make sure that I could help you along with those things. So I'm sorry I couldn't do that. Also, because I was very sick, I couldn't leave the house for like 9 days or something. I ended up being only like a week that I couldn't leave the house. I was able to be around people again on Christmas Eve. So that was actually nice. But I wasn't able to get out here and pick up a whole bunch of the grading that I was supposed to be doing while you guys were working on projects in class. So I'm behind on grading. So when you start to look at your grade over the next couple of days, you will see some major changes. There are some of the superhero projects that I still haven't finished yet, so that's why none of them are posted, because they're not all done. Once those are finished, they will be posted. Now, all grades from last semester have to be due by Monday. So everything will be caught up by Monday. But I want you to know that I do apologize for the delay. My getting sick really kind of threw a giant monkey wrench into that whole system. Yes?
Is there a chance that we turned in our outsider thing?
We did, but for the sub.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of you should. This is the only question that I have is I don't remember giving the sub specific directions on how to turn it in. So I am a little bit concerned because I've heard a couple different things from different people. Like Enrique was mentioning earlier, we were supposed to email it to you, we were supposed to print it off and turn it in. So, but there was the other big project due in world history, so it's entirely possible that you may have gotten some miscommunication as to how to turn that in. How did most of you guys turn it in?
Gave it to you.
Got it in email.
Courtney, how'd you turn it in?
Email.
You emailed it to me? You sure?
Yeah, wait, are we talking about the,
Not the Timeline Project,
Oh,
the
that-
Outsiders Project.
yes, the email.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, I printed mine out.
I think I printed
I
it.
stopped
Okay.
it until so I printed it out.
Okay. Alright, this is what I would like you to do. If you have not done it already, if you didn't print off a version and turn it into me directly, I would like you to put it in the Dropbox. Okay? Go into the student files, Bittner, language arts, period 3 and 4. I'll create a folder in there for outsider stuff, and you can put it right in there. What? Oh, giver. Why did you say? Because who said the outsider? Somebody said the outsider. Threw me all off. Danny. Giver. Yes, the giver stuff. Yes. I was like, outsider should have been turned in like a long time ago. Why is that what I did?
3 months ago.
I will say this. Because of the 3 days that I was off, and then teachers were supposed to come back on Monday, but all of our stuff was canceled on Monday, and then obviously everything was canceled yesterday. So with like those the 3 extra days at the beginning and the 2 extra days at the end, I had a grand total of 3 weeks off. That 3 weeks that 3 straight weeks where I wasn't here, which like I actually came to school yesterday. I walked in just because I felt like I needed to remember how to get here. I couldn't, it's been so long since I've driven out here, I didn't know if I could remember how to get here. And I wanted to kind of look at things and check things over and change some things around in the room. But I was very nervous about coming back because it's been so long. I was afraid I was gonna like forget all your names and stuff like that. And I wasn't sure if I could have a conversation with people where like the other side of the conversation could utter more than 1-syllable words. The only 2-syllable word that either one of my kids knows right now is my daughter's favorite word on the entire planet is bebe. 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 She's a year and a half. She's a year and a half, and she loves little baby dolls. She has 1,000 of them, and they all creep me out. I don't like them all. She has one that's terrifying, but that's all right. So, some of you are probably asking yourself now that we have all that explained. So, if you have your Giver project, your final Giver project, the web quest that I asked you guys to do, where you rewrote the end of the story. If you have that finished and you did not print it out and turn it in physically to me, please put it in the Dropbox. Okay? Please put it in that Dropbox. Okay? If you have the physical printed out copy of it and you did not already turn it in, but you just have it, in a couple of minutes or right before break, I'll have you guys put them in a pile on the table. Okay? Yes.
I have it saved to my number.
That's fine. You can turn it into the Dropbox from there. Later.
When?
All right, I'll tell you guys the same thing that I told my world history groups. Because I wasn't here to walk you through turning and all that stuff, as long as you have it turned into that Dropbox by Friday morning, then we're good. Because I have to have it graded by Monday. So as long as it's turned into me by Friday, it's good. So whether you have a printed off copy that you turn into me, or you put it in the Dropbox, as long as I have a copy by Friday morning, anything I don't have, like Sunday night, it's going to end up going in as 0. Because they have to be in, I have to have all the grades in by 3 o'clock on Monday. Okay? Yes?
So can I have a pass for my study hall?
Not right now, but later. Later. I'll do all that fun stuff later. Okay? Alright, so some of you guys are asking, well, what are we doing now? Right?
Yeah.
New semester? Right? New year? We gotta do some new stuff. I know. We're gonna do new seats tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I had planned on putting together the seating chart while my world history kids were doing their study guide during the second period, and there were some distractions going on, and I did not get that finished. So we'll have new seats tomorrow, or maybe in next period, depending on how things go during break. If I can get that quickly during break, we might have it during break. But so we're starting new stuff. We're starting new stuff.
Yeah, what is
But I don't want to we're not going to start a whole brand new crazy long unit. And the reason why is just to remind me, how many of you guys have me for world history?
How many what?
How many of you guys have? Those of you who have Miss Miller for world history, when did you guys start? When did you guys start today?
Oh, we're in honors.
I'm in
we
honors.
have
I have
7.
honors math first period.
We have 7.
I'm trying world history. What do you have? What are you starting in
I
world
have
history?
you.
Do you want me to go ask?
No.
Ancient
Okay, what do
Greek.
you?
You're in honors for
Okay.
history? Yeah.
Okay.
I never knew that.
So, what else? Do you guys know what section you guys are starting? You guys covered ancient Hebrews, right?
We just got done
Before
with the
break?
Roman Empire.
You just got done with the Roman Empire?
Yeah.
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 Like,
Yeah, because we
Greeks,
did the
Romans.
skip thing, the news thing.
Yeah, we
Okay.
had those things. We did
Alright.
news
Yeah, we
reports.
finished, right?
Okay. Well, my groups are, we're doing ancient Hebrews today, and we're going to be starting ancient Greeks in about a week. And so, to keep things sort of like in a kind of cool, tied in together, Mr. Bittner wants to keep his sanity mode. While we'll be studying ancient Greece in world history in my class, we're going to be working on Greek mythology in this class. So, but we're not going to start that for a little bit, for about another week. So, in the meantime, we're going to do something that we haven't got a chance, we don't get a chance to do very often. And that is, we're going to do some writing.
Oh,
But
how about reading?
this time, instead of doing our argument writing, we're actually going to get to do something we, like I said, we don't get to do very often. We're going to do some creative writing. We're going to do some narrative writing. We're going to write a story. We're going to write a story. And we're going to talk about the first steps of coming up with and creating that story today. What do you guys think is the most important part of a story? Most important part.
Creativity.
What's the most important part of a story?
Detail.
Quotes.
Okay, let's put it this way. Let me take that back.
The excitement.
When you've read a story, what is it about that story that makes it really good? What is something about that story that makes it really good? The plot? Something you can relate to. Okay, the lesson you learned?
Suspense.
Suspense.
Like you can actually see it in your mind.
Okay.
So deep.
Characters and memorable.
Okay, characters and memorable quotes. All of these things make for a really good story. One of my favorite book series out there is it's called the name of the series is called A Song of Fire and Ice. The first story in that, the first novel in that is A Game of Thrones, which is it's a TV show on HBO. It's a more adult TV show. It's a very it's a really great storyline if you like characters. And it's one of the things that makes it so compelling is that they create these amazing characters that you fall in love with or you absolutely hate. He does a great job of creating excellent characters. And you want to keep reading because you want to find out more about what's happening to these characters. Some of the plot is kind of weak in points. And you don't really care about how the story is actually going to go, but you really care about what's going to happen to your characters. And part of the reason why you really care about what you're going to do with your characters, what's going to happen to your characters, is the author, George R.R. Martin, likes to kill them all off.
Wow.
He likes to take, in fact, he actually stated in a quote that one of his favorite things to do is to make a character that people love, that people couldn't think of reading the series without that character, and to kill them.
That's a killing point.
Build them up to you just like you can't get enough of that character, and then kill them. It would be like killing off.
It's like a
It'd be more like killing off Ron in book 2.
And who?
Harry Potter.
Ron from Harry Potter. Imagine
Ron Weasley.
Ron Weasley, the red hair. and
Oh,
yellow hair.
wait, Dumbledore. That's kills him.
It would be. That's Harry Potter. It could also be very much like had he killed off. In fact, the way this story, his current series goes, he essentially kills off Harry Potter. If you were to relate the two together, Harry Potter, he essentially kills off Harry Potter in book 2, the main character of the story. One of the main characters named Jordan, not Harry. If you were to compare the two of them, it would be like killing off Harry Potter in book 2. How many of you guys would have continued reading Harry Potter if Harry would have died in book 2?
That
It,
That would have made sense.
Or watch
it wouldn't make sense. Yet this series, he develops so many good characters that even when the good ones die, and they do regularly, you still love it. Characters, good characterization is huge. So, we're going to start talking today a little bit about characters and character. Character traits. What do we mean when we say character traits? What does that mean? What is a character trait? Personality. Okay. What else? Something about them, right? Character trait. Things about the character. To identify character traits, think of the following questions. What does the character say or do? What do they say or do? What does the character think or feel? This will tell you a little bit more. It's a direct presentation. It's telling you directly in the text what the character thinks, how the character feels. An indirect presentation is how does a character look? What do they look like? What do the other characters think about the character? And what is the character, how does the character make you feel? When you read the story, how does that character make you feel? Now, a lot of times we're used to doing this in the reverse order, right? You read a story, and then you answer these questions about that story. But we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it in the reverse. You need to think about your characters. You're going to have to come up with 4 characters. I can tell you that already. 4 characters. You're going to need to know the answers to these questions about your characters before you ever start writing. You need to know your characters. You need to be able to answer, what are some of the things that the characters might say or do? How do they think? How do they feel? Are your characters happy characters, sad characters, angry characters? Is it an angry person? Is it a lost and lonely person? Is it a happy, kind of go-lucky, silly, always joking all the time person? How do they feel? Are they joking around all the time because really they're sad and they just want to hide it so nobody knows? Or are they sort of quiet all the time and not really saying anything because they're watching everything that goes on in order to understand what's going on? How do they think? How do they feel? Why do they do the things they do? How does your character look? Are they tall? Are they short? Are they really muscular, super skinny, maybe a little bulky? Do they have a limp? Do they have a big nose or round eyes or small, beady little dark eyes? How do they look? What do they look like? What do they look like? What do other characters think about them? Do other characters trust them? Do other characters like to be around them? Are they a trustworthy person? Should this person be trusted? These are some of the questions that you are going to have to look at. How does the character make you feel? How does the character make you feel? One of my favorite examples from this is there's a character from Game of Thrones. I'm going to keep using Thrones because I have too many characters in that story that I like to say that I have a favorite. But I will tell you this much. This particular character started out as a bad guy. And he hated it. He just hated it. He was very self-centered, very selfish. He only thought about what he wanted and what was good for him and his sister. Those were the only things he cared about. And he wanted to be the best. And he wanted to be famous. And he wanted everyone to know who he was. That's all he ever thought of. And about halfway through the book series, something changed. He lost his hand. Technically, he's lost his sword hand, so he could no longer sword fight, which is what he was best known for. And all of a sudden, his entire character changed. His entire character changed. Now he's one of my favorite characters. I want him to survive. I want him to make it through. I want him to do good things because his entire character has changed. Another character in the story, when you look at how does a character look, you have to think about the way that someone looks sometimes affects. Well, let's be honest. Does the way someone look affect the way they're treated by other people? Yes. If you have a very small, kind of ugly character, actually a rather ugly character, are they going to be treated nice by the rest of the people around them? Not normally. Not normally. Maybe in a perfect society they might be, but we don't necessarily live in a perfect society. And as we've talked about with our utopias, there are no perfect societies. So maybe he's not treated perfectly. Maybe he's treated rather poorly. And you can sort of, when you're treated that way, how can you handle that situation? What can you do? What could you do? How do you handle that situation? If you're someone, imagine for a minute that you were someone, a very short person who had had part of your nose cut off, and you had mismatched eyes, you had one blue and one green, and people sort of despised, people did not like you. Just to look at you, you were considered bad just to look at. How would you, if that was you, if you were that person, how would you handle that situation? How would you handle everyone treating you poorly all the time? They don't even call you by your name. They call you like a really derivative, mean, nasty name. Imp. That's what they call it. Imp. Ugly name for an ugly little person. They don't even call him by his real name. How would you handle that situation? Enrique, what'd you say?
I'd beat him up.
Okay, that is one way that you could
And if
handle
they
the
had it
situation.
back.
You could fight. You could say, you know what? You're not going to treat me like this. I'm going to stand up for myself, and you fight. What's another way you can handle it? You can laugh it off and pretend like you don't care, like it's no big deal. Oh, that's fine. Call me whatever you want. It's fine.
Or you can cry about it.
You can cry about it. You can become extremely depressed and upset about it, sad about the way that this thing makes you feel. Yeah, that's something a way your character can handle it. Yeah. You could be sort of assertive but polite and say, "Hey, I don't appreciate that. This is not how you should treat another person." Be respectful but polite. You could hide. Stay out of the public eye. Stay out of the public eye. Stay away from people. You can hide. Go live by yourself someplace where people aren't going to see you. Well, this time they don't have plastic surgery, but it's
Okay.
You could treat other people poorly. People talk about all the time that one of the things that happens, when you talk about bullying, is that you see that a lot of times people who bully are actually bullied by someone else somewhere else. That they are treated badly, and so they just treat other people badly. So maybe he's really mean and aggressive and terrible with other people. So wear sunglasses. So you can still kind of hide out. Danny.
Okay. You can be like a crime fighter, and then when you tell everyone who you are, even though he's ugly, he saves some people.
So you could do really good things and try and make people like you despite your ugliness. Say, I'm going to let my actions speak since no one likes the way I look. Maybe they'll like the things that I do. Okay. I can tell you right now that our character does, the character that I'm referring to, does a combination of those things. He does a combination of those things. He likes to laugh it off. He sort of jokingly, in fact, he's, a lot of times what people will tell you is if there's something about you that you think that people are going to make fun of, if you make fun of it first, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
And so if you joke about it first, then you've taken any ammunition away from them. They can't joke about it back. That's one thing that they say you can do. And that's one of the things that he does. He constantly refers to himself as the imp, makes fun of it, makes jokes about him being short and ugly, all of these different things. He makes jokes about it. But he also tries to do really good things so that people will see the good things that he does and not how horrible a person is. Unfortunately, a lot of the good things that he does are not seen that way. And he tries really, really hard, but he's not seen that way. So a way a character looks, when you're developing your character, which we'll start next period, when you start developing your character, you need to think of things outside of just, oh, well, I want them to be tall and with blonde hair. And I want them to be strong. Well, how are people going to react to someone who's tall and strong with blonde hair? how would people react to that guy or girl? You know, how the way you make your character look has a lot to do with how other people are going to look at them and react to them. So, what is it? How does your character make you feel? When you write a character, do you have to like every single character that you write, that you create? No. Should you like all of them? No. Should you? Now, every good story has two types of characters, right? What types? Good protagonist and antagonist. Good person, bad person, hero, villain. Right? Every good story has one of those. Okay? Sometimes in some stories they're the same person, but most of the time you have two separate characters. Do you have to always hate the villain? No. Sometimes the villain can be really appealing. Sometimes you may not necessarily like the hero. How many of you guys have ever seen, has anybody ever seen the Ocean's 11 movie? Let's see. Anybody ever seen any movie where they rob a place? Okay? Alright. In those movies, who's the heroes in those movies? The people who are robbing. The people who are stealing from other people are the heroes. They're considered the heroes of the story. They're the protagonists. Who's the antagonist in that story? The cops. So it's a little bit backwards, right? You like the people who are doing the bad things. That's okay. One of my favorite book series is on it's on Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs. It's older and it's very scary. But Hannibal Lecter is this terrifying psychopath who like kills people and eats them, and he's a really, really evil guy, right? One of my favorite characters of all time. Like he's really, really interesting. He's really interesting. He's really appealing. He's really intelligent, and so I like him. I like reading his books for him. I don't care about the cops trying to catch him. He can kill and eat as many of them as he wants. I guess that's fine because he is really, really cool. So, how does your character make you feel? How do your characters make you feel? Pardon? We're gonna get to that in a little bit. Forget it. Because I have a whole setup for the story for you. How much time do we have?
10 minutes. It reminds me of Amazing Spider-Man.
All right. So I actually watched a lot of stuff. Okay. So we have a couple different vocabulary words. You don't have to copy these down like regular vocabulary words. We just kind of want to go over them because these are things that are considered character traits. They're character trait elements. Okay. So we have the student emptied her bank and gave all her money to Haiti. What's a word that we can use to describe someone who does that?
Generous.
Generous? Anything else? Generous? Anything else?
Love it. Generous.
Generous. She's generous, right?
Get the
She gives all of her money to people who need it, people who need it more than her. Joey has been my friend when times were good and when times were bad. What's a good word for that? Yeah. Loyal, right?
Oh, is that it?
Loyal. People who are
man.
loyal. They
Dang.
stay with you in good times and in bad times. The little girl stroked the kitten lovingly. Oh, that's cute. Gentle.
Love or love.
Gentle.
Oh, how does she know?
Gentle. She's stroked the kitten lovingly. Although whenever I think of like stroking a kitten, I always think of like the old evil like Bond ways you get the kitten here. Yeah. Yes. You shall die, Bond. Something like that.
I got one,
All right, Sally always raises her hand and follows the rules. I could use Sally in class. What do we call this, Enrique?
Respect? Oh, I'm not sure if that's right.
Respectful.
Oh,
Respectful. She's respectful. She follows the rules.
I said respectful.
She is respectful of other people who might want to say something as well. The girl would always imagine going to faraway places.
Sad.
The girl would always imagine going to faraway places. John? Adventurous. Adventurous? Okay. Danny?
Imaginative.
Imaginative. Anything else?
Uh,
Hopeful. Ambitious. All of these are actually really good. The word that's on here is imaginative. Imaginative. I had a friend post on Facebook the other day that they just that her 2-year-old son now has he has an imaginary friend, and I can't remember what they named it, but he has a name, and he's an imaginary friend, and he's small enough that it fits in his hand, like in the palm of his hand, and he takes him places. And
imaginary friend.
the interesting part about this is that it wasn't like the kid came up with it all on his own. The dad actually taught the kid about it because he was trying to get him to as a distraction. So when he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, he could tell him to go play with his imaginary friend, whatever, like Bob or whatever his name was. And so he would go, but now it's gotten to the point where he'll take Bob and he'll share him with his brother and let his brother play with Bob. And every once in a while when he goes out and he knows he's not supposed to have Bob out, he puts Bob in his pocket and Bob goes with him to different places. But it's taken this kid who had, just was it's really building his imagination. He is imagining these different things and creating these different things in his mind. And some people are really imaginative. I never had an imaginary friend as a kid. I never did. I feel a little left out. I kind of wish I did, because it seems like it would have been really cool. But I didn't really care. I will always lose my keys. Absent-minded, disorganized,
No, it's
careless.
forgetful.
Or regretful.
It's the same.
Okay. My dad repaired my Wii. What is something that we can say? What is a character trait about that?
Caring.
For the dad, my dad repaired my Wii. What's a character trait that we could say for the dad? Alex? Helpful?
Handy.
Oh, yeah, I didn't write it. Caring.
I didn't write it.
Caring, let's see what it says. Mechanical. Right? You can't really, not just anybody can go and repair something like that. I don't know too many people who, if my Xbox broke, I know one person I could take it to fix it. And I promise you, it's not my wife, because she would have no idea what to do. John believed he would get an A.
Imaginative.
Wait, kid. Delusional? Okay, could be delusional. I mean, if it said Enrique instead of John, it could be a delusional.
Smart.
No, because I would
Brooke.
get it.
Confident. Emma. Arrogant. Let's see.
Enrique.
Positive.
No.
Who's positive?
I don't really think that's me.
Oh, I got the next one.
Tyler always believed the worst would happen. Enrique.
Negative. Oh.
Negative. We have positive, we have negative.
Too bad. Too many positives.
Okay. When he did something wrong in Mr. Brown's room, he would give you a look that would make you stop.
Scary, yeah.
Scary. Stern.
It's scary though, right?
Intimidating.
Strict. Or serious.
Intimidation.
Strict or serious.
I've been telling that you said that.
How who?
Betty always told her classmates how pretty she was.
Thank
What do
you.
you think? Guys,
Thank you.
we don't, if you're wanting to say one, raise your hand and be respectful. Like everybody had been up to this point. Julie, what do you think? Selfish? Conceited? Arrogant? Vain? A really quick story about this. I mentioned earlier that daughter only says a couple of different things. But we have started getting her to point out where different people are, and so, you know, you ask her, like, where's Mama, and she'll point, where's Dad, and she'll point. You know, where's Wrigley the dog, and if he's in the room, she points, and otherwise she goes, oh, which is really adorable. But the best part about it is we're leading down my daughter down this path. This is where she's going to be, because the question that we always ask her is, where's the princess? Where's the princess? Right here. My son, on the other hand, he's going to be delusional because we ask him where's Spider-Man.
Well, I'm gonna like him.
Spider-Man. He always
Just
looks
like
at his
my
belly.
baby
He always
brother.
right there. Right, just Spider-Man's right there. I ate him. Yes. All right. David and Jill frequently got into trouble for food fighting. What is a character trait of this? David and Jill frequently got into trouble for food fighting. Wait.
I got it. I'm gonna take Alex.
Fun-loving? No.
Troublemaker.
Wild.
That's
Wild.
But I think wild can be
When I think of wild.
All right. I think we're gonna skip this. Oh, you know what? We only got like a minute left. I'll leave it on the screen. We'll talk about the next thing in a minute. All right. If you have the Giver project that you printed out and you want to turn it in, if you can go ahead and put it over there on the table before you go to break, that would be awesome. I'm gonna try and get a new chart for you.
I just had something like it was everyone
Okay, soft secret. I'm thinking about soft
Think of one in my shoes. Now, like one of from my knee down. Welcome to the wild side. Hey, what's your job?
What?
Okay. Well, don't you agree that
Is your short hair?
What?
Is she staying this way?
Well, don't you agree that 39 kids in what class?
Who has fifth period?
We have 39.
I do. I'm in your class.
My gym class has 39 kids.
Not
including
Mr. Ritter,
What?
me and Avery were the youngest daughter and did it.
When? Oh, because I wasn't here?
Yeah.
I have the absolute awful, amazing, awesome, always sweater.
Can you guess where I got this shirt from?
Is that a sweater actually?
Guess?
This is made to look like
Guess?
a
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
It's my life
I got
story.
it.
That's
Okay, so
amazing.
three shirts.
I How long do you apply for? The man who listens to
Beat
horses.
the
Yeah, you said Jack is wild. Once you have
This is the knockout.
Yeah, why is your tongue so Yeah, it is. It's your
Knockout your stomach. Keeping a potato.
Whoa! Sorry, I will show you how to
Did try some.
that I should
It's okay.
They okay.
Hey!
Jackson's not here.
I'll do Nacho Libre.
All right. Okay. So I want to finish talking to you guys a little bit. I want to finish talking to you guys just a little bit about characters and developing characters, and then we're going to actually start. I'm going to introduce you the themes or the theme for your story. So I'm giving you the basic area of your story, and you're going to create everything else after that. Okay. But today we're going to continue focusing on characters when we do that. So we're not going to actually do any story writing per se today, although you can start developing some ideas. Okay. But like I said, we're going to continue looking at characters, kind of help define characters. So we're looking at these sentences. Sam used her little brother's colored pencils to finish her map because she forgot hers at school. What is one of the words up here that we could probably use that would accurately describe that action? Which one of these ones do you think would accurately describe that action? Zach?
Resourceful?
Resourceful, right? She doesn't have her stuff, so she borrows her brother's. It's resourceful. That's pretty good. So we can move that down there. Go. John crossed the street to avoid walking under a ladder. Now, superstitious. Why is that superstitious? It's bad luck to walk underneath a ladder. Why is it bad luck to walk underneath a ladder?
They'll fall on you.
Huh? But why is it superstition? It is. Actually, this is outside of the thing. Brooke? Stuff could fall on you. If you're walking underneath a ladder, and let's say I'm at the top of the ladder painting, you know, I got a bucket of paint, I got a paintbrush, I might have like a little, you know, like a, I don't know, a tray to keep the paint in. Maybe I got my coffee up there. I don't know. You know, you walk by and accidentally brush against the ladder wiggles, paint can falls, and then you got a giant can of paint on your head.
Coffee falls.
So, not a good idea. But some people believe it's just bad luck, so they don't do it at all. And that's a superstition. So superstitious. Bill defended his friend Peyton when the other kids tried to kick him off the team. What do we call that? Loyal, right? He's loyal. He's defending his buddy. The villain of the story stole all the money of the villagers. The villain of the story stole all the money of the villagers. What would we call that? Careless?
Evil. Oh.
He can be resourceful because he just took all the money.
What do you think? Evil. Pretty evil. Stealing all the money from all the people in the village? That's pretty evil.
But then everybody else is resourceful.
It could be resourceful, I guess, if he was the hero of our story, but it says he's the villain. Okay,
That's weird.
after Lou hit the game-winning home run, he complimented his teammates.
Modest.
What do we think? Modest. Huh. He doesn't take all the credit. He doesn't take all the credit. He's rather modest. He says, you know what? I couldn't have done it without my team. Although, you know, once you hit a home run, like you did that. So you know, and it's sort of like a stereotypical answer. Did any of you guys watch any of the bowl games, the football bowl games? I can tell you one thing. My favorite part about being a teacher is not being off for summer break. My favorite part about being a teacher is being off for bowl season. I think I watched probably 30 bowl games over the course of the 2 weeks. My wife would, like, by Monday night, the national championship game, she was like celebrating that football was that college football was finally over. She was so excited. I was watching like bowls you've never heard of. You know, like the Tostitos salsa bowl.
I've heard of
Oh,
that.
I've heard of
I just made that up.
No, that
It's
is
actually-
one.
There's a Tostitos Fiesta bowl, but not a
Yeah.
salsa bowl. You know what
Oh.
and then there was the cereal, the Lucky Charms cereal bowl.
No, it
Um,
I didn't hear that.
and there was,
Probably
I
like
heard
Notre Dame.
there was the bowling alley bowl.
I think you're making some of these up.
I'm making all of these up. Okay.
Lucky Charms
But-
would be Notre Dame.
Where are we going with that? I was going somewhere with it. Oh, whenever you're watching this, you'll always see the same sort of things. They'll ask the winning quarterback, you know, oh, you threw for 400 some odd yards. And, oh, well, I couldn't have done it without my linemen who were protecting me, and my receivers who were catching the ball, and my running back who threw some good blocks. So you always, it's a modest way of answering your question. It's very stereotypical. It's actually kind of annoying at some point. It just doesn't seem very honest. But all right, now we actually have a chance for you guys to come and move some stuff. So we have two different types. We've talked about this before. We have two different types of characters. We have positive characters and we have negative characters. And when we have positive and negative characters, we have positive and negative character traits. So we have a list of some words here. You get to move them into the spinning wheels of death to find out whether or not these are positive or negative character traits. Say, who should I get for my first volunteer? First volunteer of the new year. New volunteer.
You know,
Yeah.
dude, we're like 3 pounds of she fails.
Grab a word. Responsible.
Oh, yeah.
Positive. Good job. Being responsible is positive. I should remind more of you of that. Anna, you get to pick who goes next. Please pick a boy. We're gonna go boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. Ah.
First boy
Ah,
of the
there you
new
go.
year.
Alright.
First boy.
There you go.
You actually get a picture.
Alright, that one.
What does Zane mean?
That's what I did.
Thoughtful.
That one. It is positive.
Those words in the middle.
Right down the middle.
Thoughtful is positive. Correct. Enrique, please pick a female. Quickly.
Not her.
Quickly.
Oh, look at Courtney's.
Quickly, Enrique. Or I will pick for you.
I'll pick Anna. Why not? We're wolf girls. Sorry.
Self-centered is negative. Being self-centered is not positive. Anna, pick a boy, please.
Danny, second boy of the year.
Zany? Zany's sort of like kind of crazy, silly, funny.
Dude, Zany. Dude,
I wanted
that's
to be
like
arrogant,
me.
Enrique. I like that.
That's like just for me. It's called
Arrogant, negative. Danny, pick a girl.
Yeah.
It's like you're
Jacqueline, second, third girl.
Okay, Enrique. We can keep the countdown. We're done.
Wait, but top 3 is the best.
Zany is positive. It's good to be a little zany sometimes.
That's me.
Oh,
Oh, I'm not doing the countdown. Countdown is over.
If you ever a teacher.
It's going to be a good person.
You know my name.
Gloomy, negative.
I think we're every single one.
Zach, pick choice. Clever. Positive. It's good to be clever.
Here you went.
No. Mr. Bitter.
Brayden, pick Courtney. As long as you don't have that smile, Brayden. Just like that.
Don't smile, Courtney. Don't smile.
It kills
Innocent is positive.
I told you you couldn't smile.
Insensitive. Negative.
Coming.
No, pick up.
Dang it.
Oh God.
Then-
John. John said.
Stay in your seat.
Kevin, pick on me. I'm a girl.
Kevin, which word did you have? Fearless. Positive.
Pick it.
Yeah. I told it to pick you, so shh. Don't try to attendance. But you could.
Thoughtless.
Thoughtless.
Oh God. Oh, don't trip.
You pick somebody?
Oh yeah. Picture Courtney behind the tree.
Okay.
John, you should go.
Oh, my turn.
No.
Courtney behind the tree.
Wait, Danny.
I'll forget you.
Breath. Okay.
Wicked.
Wicked.
Launch and go.
Seriously, Golden so please though.
Do it, Nick.
Twirling my hair.
Thinking.
Quickly.
Okay. Sensitive.
Sensitive.
Oh,
I think. Yeah, you're one.
Oh, you're
I think I should be
good.
one.
oh, is that a negative?
Yeah.
It could be. All
Very
right.
sensitive.
We're gonna stop right there.
Good
Big
job,
boy now.
Good job, Enriqua.
Now, some of our words that we had on here, we could actually look at a couple different ways. Just like we were talking about on that last one with sensitive. Sensitive can be considered both positive or negative. It depends on how it is, on how it's used. Sometimes a person can be too sensitive, right? Or if they're really sensitive, let's say you have something that is sensitive. So they're very sensitive, like you have like a sore tooth that is sensitive to the cold. That's bad. You don't want it to be sensitive. It hurts. Sometimes sensitive can be a good thing. You have someone who understands other people's problems and issues. They are sensitive to their needs, to their problems. That can be a good thing. So sensitive could be either good or bad. Innocent. A lot of times innocent could be good or bad, but most of the time when it's bad, we use another word for it. It sort of means the same thing. We use a different word for it. Does anyone know what the negative version of innocent is?
Guilty.
No. Like that's the opposite. Like let's say innocent basically means that they're sort of pure and they don't they're pure, they don't necessarily know a lot of negative things or bad things. They're not aware of bad things. So when you have someone who maybe like let's say you have someone who doesn't understand that bad things can happen to you, that people can take things from you. They don't get that. They've never experienced that. They don't think that that can actually happen. There's a word for that. It's a type of innocence. Does anyone know what that word is? Brooke? Yeah, a little bit. Not ignorant. Not necessarily. Ignorant means lack of knowledge. It's called naive. Has anybody ever heard the term naive? People who are naive are innocent in a negative way. They're innocent in a negative way. They're completely devoid of any knowledge that these things could be bad. And normally, people who are naive, normally their naivete could cause them some sort of harm. Being naive could cause them harm. Okay. Yes? Not necessarily. It could be lack of experience. Also, ignorance is more along the lines of knowledge. You just don't like ignorance and naivety are related, but they're not exactly the same. They are related. Okay, one last thing. Think about a character in a book you recently read. Think about a character in a book you recently read. Everybody have one? Emma, you should be hard. You're still reading a book right now.
Got it.
You have a character of a book you recently read. It could be, and I don't say, I haven't read a book. Because we just finished The Giver like a little bit ago. So I know you've all read a book. Or at least, hopefully, you were supposed to. What are some of the character traits that you could use to describe that particular character. I want you to look at that list that's there. I'm going to kind of scroll up a little bit so you can see some more other words that are on here. I want you to kind of think about that character a little bit. Think about that character for a minute. And then I'm going to ask you in a minute to tell me the name of the character, the book, and what's one of the things that could, what's one of these character traits that could describe them. So just take like a minute to look over the list. No, books. No, books. Books. Huh? Yeah, you could add more traits, but I'd like you to stick to
Wait,
those.
just one?
Just one. You only need to find one. Okay. Courtney, what's yours? Okay, what's the character? You give me the character, the book, and then your word.
Everton, Milo.
Okay. Anna? Character, book, character trait. Okay. Brooke. I just need one. Just need one. Just need one. Brooke. Independent? Okay. Anna.
Oh, the Outsiders, reliable.
Okay. Christian.
So the Giver, Joan Officers.
Adventurous. Taylor. Okay. The giver is officer. Jackson. Character name. A book, character name, and one character trait about that character.
Sam from Beyond
Okay.
Brave.
Brave. Alright. Taylor. Could not be on there? Sure.
Insecure, silly, whatever.
Okay. Good.
The Giver, Jonas, he's kind of
Okay. John.
Asher from The Giver is missing.
Who was that?
Asher.
Asher from The Giver, and he's messy. Excellent. Now,
The Giver, Jonas, he's
adventure.
Jackson.
Jackson.
Just John, Oopsie, Weasel, and she's
Courageous. Danny.
The Giver. Giver's old.
Okay.
You said we can have one now.
What is on it?
Old.
He's
I thought you said bold.
he's old.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to say, people.
Alright. Alright.
In a way, he's sad. Very
I would
sad.
say I would go more sad rather than old. Old is part of it, but
But
very good.
Hunger Games, Katniss,
Okay.
and she's smart.
Smart.
I was gonna say beautiful, but she nothing says
That's
Matter
true.
of opinion. Yeah.
exactly.
Alright,
What's this book called?
guys. If you have already gone, please stay quiet.
The Outsiders, One Boy, and I thought it just needs a
Is it fast?
yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for what word you knew. I don't see fast at the You might have done well.
Athletic.
Athletic? Okay.
I
A leader? Okay. He's humble. Okay. And bold? Alright. Logan. Okay?
I'll say Jackson.
Adventurous? Okay. Brooke? Alright. All of these are great character traits. Now notice a lot of you guys used the characters from The Giver because it's fresh, we just read it. Some of you probably didn't read any after that. I don't blame you for that. So it's fresh in your mind, you still remember it. But we use a lot of different words to describe some of the same characters. We use multiple words to describe the same characters. So you had to have someone who is both bold, adventurous, independent, and a leader. All of those things. You might have someone who's a leader and humble and a little bit sad. Those things you don't necessarily think would go well together, but they can. They can very easily describe a particular character. Not everyone leads because they want to. Some people do it because that's what needs to be done, and that's what they need to do. And they're not necessarily happy about it. So you have to think about those types of things, okay? When you're coming up with your characters. When you start coming up with your characters, in just a few minutes, the first thing that you're going to need to do, you're going to need to come up with names for your characters. I'm going to give you the scenario, what's going on in the story in just a minute. You're going to get the scenario. You're going to have to come up with the names for your characters. You're going to need 4 characters. 3 good, 1 not so good. All right? 3 characters. 3 good, 1 not so good. Or, well, I guess they don't all have to be good. But we'll get to that in just a second. But you're going to need to come up with 3 character traits for them. Something like this. 3 character traits for them to describe them. And then in a little bit, you're going to have to, maybe not today, probably not today, you're going to have to tell me how you're going to make those play out in your story. How are you going to communicate that character trait to me in the story, like in the actual writing of the story? How are you going to tell me that this particular character is loyal? What's going to happen? How am I going to know this? The White Walkers come back to school. For those of you who don't know, who don't recognize this is actually from the TV show The Game of Thrones, and those are all The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
The Walking Dead have come back to school. I was actually really surprised by how much energy you guys had because I imagined a whole bunch of kids going like walking in, just sort of dragging their backpacks in, very tired. Oh, I have to be here so early. And that's what I imagined seeing this morning. A bunch of zombie school children walking in out of the cold. That's not exactly what happened. So, winter has come. Winter has come to the Midwest. We live in the Midwest. Winter has come to our lovely area of Illinois. And with it, a terrible new disease. A terrible new disease has come to Illinois. It is called cabin fever has spread throughout the frozen Midwest, affecting thousands. Huh?
That's really a thing.
This isn't really a thing. Now, how many people have ever heard of the term cabin fever? Right? You've heard of that term? I don't even know how many people on Facebook I heard over the last 4 days going, oh my God, my kids are going crazy. They have cabin fever. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. So, in our story, cabin fever is a real disease that has been spreading amongst all the people trapped in their house because it's cold and it's wintry and no one can escape their houses. Cabin fever has spread throughout the frozen Midwest, affecting thousands. 3 friends are left unaffected. 3 people, 3 friends are somehow left unaffected. These are your 3 main characters. There are 4 characters. Yeah, 3 main characters. These are the 3 characters that your story is going to be based around. These are your 3 protagonists. Do all your protagonists have to be really good people? No. But those are your 3. You have 3. Which means you're going to have an antagonist. You're going to have an antagonist. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you to come up with how the antagonist fits into the story. Is he the zombie leader? Is he the person who invented cabin fever and spread it out throughout all the people? Is he some general for the military that just wants to wipe everyone out and these three friends want to save everybody? I'll leave it up to you to create your antagonist. However you want to write your story with your own antagonist. That's up to you. But these are your heroes, your protagonists. Yes. No. No, it's not a real disease. It's just a term. It's just a term people use for being really bored when you're starting. Yes. Right. They don't necessarily have to be friends. Like friends. They can be three people, but they need to be. I want you to keep them roughly about the same age. Imagine that there are 3 7th graders.
Why 7th? Why not?
They don't have to be 3 7th. They can be 8th graders or 6th graders or 9th. I don't know. But they need to be about the same age. Okay? Now, notice one of the things that I put in here. Did I put you and 2 friends are the only ones who survive? No. Is this story about you? No. Are you a character in your story?
Okay, we use their name.
You might be a side character, but you are not one of the main characters.
We use our name.
You can use your name, but you are not the character. Okay? So when you're developing character traits about these 3 characters, you are not talking about yourself. You're creating brand new, original characters.
Can you say the story?
Right.
So it's going to be an actual disease?
In this story, it's an actual disease. It is an actual. No, it turns you into a zombie. It turns you into
Daniela and Rico.
our white walking friends, our zombies walking through the snow.
Do we have weapons?
They do.
Well,
Most
if we're gonna survive, do we need weapons?
possibly. That's in your story.
AK-47.
Okay. One of the first steps in telling a good story is developing good characters. This guy does. This is in Game of Thrones. This is one of the leaders of the zombie people, the White Walker. He's one of the leaders. He doesn't really say much. He's just really good. Today we're going to begin the process of coming up with our characters. What I want you to do is you're going to start filling out. We're going to talk about this in a second. This is an example sheet. I don't have copies of this because I want you guys to actually start putting it in your journals that you guys have brought to class and that should be in the file folder. We're going to start with this. You're going to do a character chart on each one of your characters. You have to do one for each character. There's 4 characters, so you're going to have 4 charts. The first thing that you want to do is you want to start out with your character's name. So what is your character's name? In this case, we have Marlin. What story is this? Please.
Nemo.
It's Finding Nemo, right? If you read through the events for like 2 seconds, you can figure it out. Like you read two events and you can immediately figure out who this is. So, if we take a look at this, what we see is we have our character's name, Marlin. What are 3 traits about Marlin? The 3 traits that they picked about him. What are the 3? Overprotective, determined, cautious. Are all 3 positives? No. Are all 3 negatives? No. He's a little bit of both. If you were to sit down and write down a list of character traits that accurately described you, would they all be positive? Probably not. Would they all be negative? Probably not. You'd have a fair mix of both. You might lean a little bit more to one side or the other. Maybe you're a little more positive than you are negative. Maybe you're a little more negative than you are positive. You know, we all kind of lean one way or a little bit or the other. But we're a mixture of both. If I had to list this, mine would be a pretty good mixture of both. Probably a little more negative than positive. But that's because I consider myself a genius. That's just
That's your opinion.
So we have our 3 traits. The next thing that you need to do is you're going to need to tell me how you're going to prove those 3 traits. how are you going to come? Now, this is going to be kind of hard at first because you haven't written the story yet. You haven't. Normally, you do this. You look at a story that that's already written. And you say, "Oh, this is how it's proved." But we're kind of doing this backwards because we're starting without a story, and you're going to start inventing one. But you need to come up with your traits. What are 3 things that describe your characters? And then what are some ways that you can show that? If you look at Marlon, we say he's overprotective. How do I know that he's overprotective? If you just write he's overprotective, but you don't show it in the story, I'll never know that he's overprotective. So how do we know that he's overprotective?
Prove it.
Prove it. And what are some things that prove that he's overprotective? What was that? Which is? Okay, they don't let Nemo go. He doesn't let Nemo go to the edge of the reef. Do other kids do that? Do other little fish do that? Yes. Does he allow Nemo to do it? No. Enrique, what's something else that proves that he's overprotective?
Holds Nemo's hands on the way to school.
Right, he holds Nemo's hands. He won't let him out of his sight. Do other parent fish do that? Not necessarily, but he does. He's very, very protective. Okay, doesn't want them to go play. Doesn't let Nemo play with other fish. So we see already, and these are all things that happen in the beginning of the story, right? That tell you immediately what type of person he is. He's very overprotective.
Please, Marlon.
Marlon's a dad.
Yes.
Marlon's a dad. So we see that he's very, very overprotective at the very beginning of the story. So what are some ways that you could show your character traits? What are some ways that you show? That's what you're going to start filling out. Yes?
Well, I think one of my characters, I want her to come off like innocent, but to actually be bad.
Okay.
How would I, my 3 are innocent and stupid.
Okay.
Well, how would I do innocent but she's not? She comes off safe.
So like she seems good.
Look at it sometimes.
Because it's your story.
Wait, Mr. Benjamin.
How, like, I don't know enough about your characters to know this. This is the things that you need to, remember the things, all right, now that we have this, I want to go back to one of the things that we talked about earlier. Remember there are multiple things that go into how a character is, how we come up with a character, or character traits. These are the questions that you need to ask yourself about your characters. How do they look? Maybe a simple way of making your character appear to most people to be innocent is to talk about the way that they look. What does innocence look like? What does an innocent kid look, or an innocent person look like? Small.
Little girl with pigtails.
A little girl with pigtails. I can't think of a more perfect picture of innocent than like a little girl with pigtails. And very, like, in big, like, a lot of times innocence is shown with big eyes. Someone who has really big eyes, really big, kind of sad, like cautious eyes, is someone who's innocent, right? Also, what are some of the things what are ways that a character could talk to show that they're innocent? Soft, light. They have a very light, soft voice. It kind of gives off a sense of, they're kind of quiet, a little shy maybe. It sort of gives you a sense of innocence, right? So when you're looking at how do I figure these things out, think about these questions. All right. What I want you guys to do now, you guys got about 7 minutes, right? 7 minutes. Go ahead, grab your journals out of the folder, and get started on this process. Come up with the names at least for your characters, and start coming up with the character names to go along with it. No, those are for another part.
George.
Yeah, well, we're not to that stage yet. Yes, but we're not to that stage yet. All you're doing today is developing the character. Quick.
I tried to get a pencil. Well, I don't have a pencil.
Yeah, you're coming up with your character. You're creating your characters today.
Excuse me, Bria.
He's coming. He's coming. Yeah, he is. He's I should
Oh,
How does it fit into the rest that I gave you? Who around me?
what'd you take with Savage?
Okay. I will get it.
No, I'm just gonna do like new characters so we don't have to. I am. Mr. Minder, can you go back to the other one where I have all the characters?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Okay, my first character is gonna be named Jamal. It's gonna be my first one's gonna be Jamal, Mr. Victor.
Okay.
Jamal. AJ.
Oh.
I'm gonna. She's natural Libre.
No, I'm not. That, like the one with all the character traits, like the, yeah, that one. Like Drew,
Jamal.
Kyle. So we need to get 3 characters. There's, I'm behind you.
Kevin.
All you need
Then
to
we can
know,
include
you
Jacob.
need to know is your 3 character names. Your character
That's
name
it.
and your character traits for each one of those characters. Each character needs 3 character traits. 3 names, 3 traits.
Sean.
Me.
My Sean. Is yours gonna be all girls or all boys? I'm doing 2 girls. Nothing.
Dude.
L. Yeah.
Wow, a G-Man. I was kind of watching like 15 shows last night. Sean.
Jamal.
Styles.
I don't like
Jamal's sensitive. He likes power. He can use my 7. Sensitive. Sensitive. He's hardcore. You know he's sensitive. Just kidding. He's lazy. So when Donnie turns up, he just wants like 1 more hour of sleep.
Wait, how much do we have to do for each? You have to do 3 character treats. Oh yeah. 7
Enrique.
Jason.
Short. He's a dreamer. Are you a dreamer?
Oh, I get it. More like a.
Oh, they don't have money on this? Are you kidding me? Mom says I look like a Rebecca.
What is the story?
Jamal.
You know what?
I taught her names.
What about she looks like?
Adrian. Adrian.
Oh, it has to be good. Hey, why don't you have bunny on this? Come on now.
What's always been looking at first place?
It probably does. Because you do look like a No, it's not. Mr. Benner, do you have bunny on this?
No, I don't see it on there. But funny, like you don't have, Enrique, you don't have to use the word only on that list.
Oh, you
Use
don't?
Other words. No, it's just Jacqueline asked for that list for a list of ideas. You don't have to use the words only on that list.
Oh, okay.
But when we're talking about character traits,
Yeah?
I want to make sure everybody does understand this. Ladies, when we're talking about character traits are not like big, tall, short. Like those aren't character traits. Not necessarily. They character traits have to do more with why someone does something, or not necessarily about how they look. Okay? How they look might affect their character, but it's not a character trait. Okay?
It's not that. What's your adjective?
It is not an adjective. Well, it is an adjective.
Jamal.
God, that's so random.
I got like Sean Styles.
What's in common? Jamal. Adrian. Calvin. What's Jamal?
Running back?
Stop yelling.
Running back?
Yeah, Jamal Wallace.
I don't know. That was just maybe how you saw it.
Charles. Adrian. Calvin. Calvin Stein. Calvin Johnson.
Best one.
Oh my god, I don't even know that what the positions are. That's something like radius.
No, you aren't.
I like that. I should watch all that.
Yeah, I'm not asking for a position. I'm asking for
Too bad. Get you. So good.
Calvin, Adrian.
Mine. You know, you want to know what mine is?
Now I can
Mine.
I started
Mine are
watching
Allison,
I
Skies,
started
and
getting
Sean.
on they just started using that yesterday. So I'm like 40. Oh, no, good. What's your answer? It's about this kid. Let me get he has one that's better. No, because he has sparkling eyes that like see through stuff like that. Because you have stupid eyes. I'm gonna cry this one really on. And so his like sparkling eyes like help protect.
Hello. Oh yeah, I still need it. What are you doing today?
Where do I sit? I forgot.
What are you doing everything?
Old spots?
Mr. Fisher is back.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Well, you had a sub. I was sick for.
I'm really hungry right now.
So was I.
Chico, Chico.
How many minutes do I have? What time is it? It's January.
Probably because
really?
Probably because you're starting with like ping pong. Where do I sit? I forgot.
We're in the same chart in a second. Just pass it.
Only 5 months.
I'm just kidding. I need to see one part. Oh my last time I made common traits. Okay, yeah, but we were having a fight of if my friend is smarter. Because he's like, well, I don't know, like, junior math because I'm in elementary school. I'm like, well, my friend's really in third grade. It's like, what? So I'm still higher level. I'm like, do you want to hear a secret? No.
I like your outline.
Good one.
Anthony, come on, let's go.
He's like, who is it? Hey, you get
Just hang out for a second. We're getting the new chart next, so everybody's getting
Are you in this?